tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be playing in the Tier 10 Italian auto-reloading medium tank, the Caro Combattimento 45-ton. It's an incredibly unique vehicle down to the fact that it carries a 4-shell 380 damage per shot auto-reloader. Now, you might think on paper that that is completely overpowered. However, this tank has a lot of downsides that even a vehicle like the Progetto can make quick advantages of, which I'll be breaking into for today's video. This will be a full down review, so I'll be breaking into the statistics and as well a bit about the armor profile, although honestly there's not much armor on this tank. So let us start off with the overall statistics of this vehicle by making our way over the Blitz stars as a comparison. So as you can see, I have the Combattimento against the Progetto 65. Now this vehicle has 4 shells, as I said. The first one is a reserve shell, so it takes 20 seconds to load into the gun. Basically, you're not going to use that shot unless you're forced to. You have 3 other shells, ranging from a 7.25 second reload to a 5.89, and finally a 4.53. Realistically, when using this vehicle, you want to shoot the first shell for 4.53 seconds and reload just that one shell. That is going to give you effectively around an 8-second reload because it's a 4.53 second reload plus a 3.53 second intraclip. So if we were to do 60 divided by 8 and then multiply that by the 380 alpha it carries, you have about 2,850 DPM effective as a single shot on this tank. Now that's a lot compared to a vehicle like the Progetto, which has also just about an 8-second because it's 4.98 plus a 3-second intraclip. That means for the Progetto, if we do the same 60 divided by 8 and then multiply that by the 350 alpha, you have 2,600 DPM. So this vehicle has about 200 more damage per minute effectively than a Progetto. So that is really nice about the tank. However, once you start to eat into the clip, the DPM gets worse and worse. In fact, your third shell takes 7.25, but it's actually a bit longer because the intraclip is worse on this vehicle than the Progetto. So that's something to keep in mind, is that the DPM on this tank is good, but it's not amazing. But it is pretty dang good for an auto reloader. Here's where the downsides start to occur. First of all, dispersion. This is now the least accurate medium in Tier 10. Its dispersion is 0.344, which is absolutely awful. I'm not sure if I should be running refined gun on it or I should be running V-stabs. I really don't know, because if you're running refined gun, then your on-movement dispersion becomes absolutely horrendous. And if you're running V-stabs, then, well, you're absolutely horrendous on accuracy. So it's really the same dispersion as an IS-4. And I would suggest to run V-stabs because it's actually less accurate on move than a vehicle like the Progetto 65. It really is an interesting gun. Now, aiming time-wise, you can see it's exactly the same. So while it may not have an incredibly accurate gun, it does carry decent aiming time. Now, it has a speed of 55 and 21 in reverse. And while it does have more engine power, the problem is your effective horsepower to ton ratio. On hard terrain, it is 18.8, which compared to the Progetto's 23 is abysmal. And on medium, it's 17.1. Now, to show just how immobile this vehicle is compared to a lot of other mediums, I would say the slowest medium in Tier 10 right now when it comes to effective power to weight is probably, I honestly can't even name one, but maybe the STB. And the STB is 22.5. In fact, if we were to make our way over to heavies, an AMX 50B has an effective power to weight of around 16.4, so really you should think of this thing as kind of a glorified heavy on its mobility. The problem is that it doesn't carry a lot of armor. In fact, if we make our way over to the armor profile of this vehicle, you're going to see it's actually quite poor. On flat ground, that upper plate, not the upper plate, the turret cheeks are about 213, as you can see. And that means even if you're using it fully hulled down, the turret is about, well, 280. But you have to realize that this is without shell normalization added in. So with shell normalization, it's probably around 260, which means most standard ammo can penetrate your turret, and even when you're using full gun depression. And heat shells are going to absolutely butter through this tank, especially because this little spot here, even though it looks like a mantlet, it isn't. It's only about 250 and 196 thick. So really, it's not a hard tank to pen. The upper plate, 197. It's not a well-armored vehicle. The side armor is only 77, the rear is only 42. So realistically, the only thing about this tank that is very good is the alpha at 380 and the fact that it carries decent damage per minute. Apart from that, you're really not going to do that amazing in the vehicle. Its camouflage values are middle of the road, its view range is middle of the road, and when you add that in with the fact that, as I said, it really doesn't have armor, it's definitely a vehicle that is not overpowered. It's not overpowered even slightly. However, there are some moments when I think this can be a super duper powerful tank, like the ability to deal, 1,520 damage in a clip? I mean, it's literally the same clipping potential as an AMX 50B, but you have worse dispersion, you have worse accuracy on move, so it's weird. It really is. I mean, for the most part, I'd say you'd be better off in an AMX 50B. I mean, heck, it's got just about the same DPM, but it is an auto-reloader. And as we know, auto-reloaders are really good at that capability of being very hard to push on. So it's interesting. It really is an interesting playstyle. I've played maybe about 20 games in the tank so far, and I would say the biggest problem I've had with it so far is the on-movement dispersion. It's the fact that the gun is so dang inaccurate, it really struggles to penetrate enemy opponents. And it's especially apparent when you're aiming at like an EM 100 or an IS-7 side, or really anything that has decent side armor. So that's where I will say the gun feels really loopy. And missing a shell with this vehicle, that 3.54 second entry clip is long. It's a very long entry clip. That means to dump your entire clip, it's going to take you over 10 seconds. That is a lot of time. In 10 seconds, a 62A can shoot you back twice. So it definitely has a lot of balancing features that I like. I like that Wargaming has kept this tank balanced. So we've got an enemy Caro in the front line, and you can see that 20-second reload here taking a very long time. Basically, I can't shoot. I do not want to dump into that shell, because unlike the Minotauro, where at least you have 490 alpha for that, you don't even have close to 490 with this vehicle. You have 380, so you do not want to put yourself in that position to be able to get shot. But you can see right there, that's an enemy Caro. Does that thing look like it has a lot of turret armor? The answer is no. It has negative turret armor, if anything. But nice shell into the enemy TVP. And let's go for one more shell. There you go. Nice 416 tap. I don't want to dump my shell, so I'm going to be careful, not do anything there. Let's reload again. We got 3 more seconds. 2, 1. Okay. Looks like this Caro probably going to try to run. And wow, we actually hit that. That was pure luck. I'm going to be honest. There's nothing else to say, but that was pure luck. So let's see. The Caro is going to run, and we're going to aim in another shell. You can see the shell velocity is actually decent on the vehicle. And as a single shot, the alpha is great. I mean, the fact that I have 380 alpha means that I can outtrade a lot of enemy opponents. So I do like that part about the tank. It feels very, very comfortable to just slap somebody for 380 damage. We're going to aim it on the 57. There you go. Nice 350 tap, and we've waited for our second shell to get in. But once again, we got to wait for our third shell here. There you go. And now we're going to wait for our fourth shell. Now, the great thing is that the more time you wait, the faster and faster your shells get loaded in. It's only 4.5 seconds for your last shell, which is very fast when you think about it. So it's not too bad on that aspect there. And, you know, it can just chill here again. If my VK is just going to go for it, then he's going to go for it. And let's just get a nice 385 tap into that player. And what I'm really going to do here is I'm going to get behind this Kron. This thing has 500 high explosive alpha, which means getting behind a vehicle like that Kron, I mean, you can just absolutely dump damage into a vehicle like that. Now, I am stuck on the dead Kron. Not much I can really do about that there, is there? So let's reload again. I don't really want to shoot this guy. Let's just get towards his side. There you go. There's one easy tap and 2 easy taps, and then we can back up and maybe, well, I was going to say maybe get a finishing shell into the enemy Kampf Panzer, but this was a good game. We did over 4,000 damage. We'll definitely pull out an ace, as nobody owns this tank right now, and I mean, nobody's doing this well in the tank, so 4,404 damage and a golden M. There you go. So yeah, pretty good game so far. Very easily able to do a pretty decent chunk of damage. So let's see if it can do well again. Now, you notice there that after I dumped my clip, I really didn't have the opportunity until I got into the front line to reload the rest of my shells. And that is definitely something you'll notice a lot with the tank. So if you are sitting at that final 7-second shot, in fact, it's, let me see what the reload is, 7.25. It's going to be 7.25 plus a 3.54 4-second interclip, which is leaving you at 10.79 seconds. So if we do 60 divided by 10.79 and multiply that by 380, your effective DPM as the third shell is 2,100. It's not awful, to be fair. I mean, that's just about the same damage per minute as a Kron has, and you still have, you know, an extra shell if you need to use it, but ideally you don't want to go past your second shell. Once you start to do that, you're really going to eat into your damage per minute. But it's not bad to go 1, 2, 3 and then reload the full clip, because then you don't have the intra clip. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. Alright, let me make my way into the front line once again, and we'll see what we can do. I have to say, by the way, the camo looks absolutely fantastic on this tank. Definitely one of my favorite looking camos that Wargaming has made, period. Also, 9 degrees of gun depression, something I should point out. I probably should have pointed that out a little bit earlier, but very nice gun depression. Also, look at this turret traverse, very, very solid. So it definitely has some aspects that make it super duper nice. We're going to wait here. We got another 5 seconds before we get our fourth shell into the gun. But this is why, yeah, I backed up. I'm not getting blind fired by that guy. This is why you want to be a little bit patient with this vehicle. Now, we can see the majority of our team is going over towards this side of the map. But it also appears that so is the enemy, as that AMX M454 is also plopping over here. So, not exactly sure what to expect in this game, but I don't want to over-aggress when I don't know exactly what the enemy team is doing. It is very weird, though. I mean, is this AMX just YOLOing over here? I don't see anybody else spotted, like, at all, which is just odd, if I'm going to be completely honest. So, let's go for the AMX here. There's 1 shell into his tank, 440 shot. 2 shells into his tank, 389, and he's dead. No clue what he was doing. But this is where being that auto-reloader is fantastic, because I can just reload that 3rd shell into the gun, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go for 1 shell into the grill, tracking him. And because obviously we're an auto-reloader, we can get the 2nd shell into him, tracking him as well. The Sheridan gets a nice shot in. We're just going to back up, and this is where we wait for those shells to load back in. So you do have to be careful with this tank. You know, if you're in a Progetto in this moment here, you can just dump your clip. You can't do that with this vehicle. You don't want to do that with this vehicle. You're just killing your DPM if you dump it. So it's much more efficient to wait, and it plays a lot more like the Minotauro rather than any other vehicle you've probably seen played before. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to push towards this enemy 60 TP, and let's see, so 60 shoots, we're going to get towards his side. There's 1 shell for 336, 2 shells, unfortunately that one bounces, but that's all good. Let's get another shell into his vehicle. We do have the IS-4 on me, but once again, I'm not going to shoot this shot. I'm going to wait, keep on waiting, and keep on waiting. Okay, let's load in a heat shell. Well, this thing doesn't actually shoot heat, but let's load in a premium shell to guarantee that it pens. With that, we're up to 2,800 damage dealt. So we're doing pretty good so far. Once again, reloading. We got to use that auto-reloading clip. There you go, 1 shell, and then we just gotta wait 4 seconds for the last, which is why I would just suggest to wait for that last shell really to get in. But once you get all 4, there's 1 shell into the enemy IS-4, 2 shells into the IS-4, and there's number 3, and also, let's get this 4th shell out. There you go. That is 4 shells into the enemy IS-4. 1,520 potential damage we just dealt to his tank. And there you have it. This is the Cdc 45T. It's a pretty fun vehicle. Right now I'm going pretty good on my win rate. A little bit low on the average damage, as I was just trying to get my bearings straight with the vehicle. A lot of people have been tunneling it because it's brand new. So I think tomorrow is definitely when I'm going to be able to really get a feel for this vehicle. But another mastery. And yeah, you can see statistically in the tank so far, 79% win rate, 3,000 average damage. So I'll probably get the average up to about 3,500 within the next couple of days or so, and the win rate will probably go down to about 73, 74% would be my opinion. But good tank overall. I'm really enjoying it. I'm definitely going to mess around with it a lot more, as this is an incredibly fun vehicle. And yeah, good job on Wargaming for actually making a balanced tank. Obviously, it's expensive. I would not suggest to buy it right now. I'd wait for it to get cheaper, but that's up to you. That's why I just made my review, my opinions on this vehicle. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.